right. Hi, Beth. Good morning and welcome back. It's so nice
Thanks.
to have you here. You know, this is my favorite time of the day when I get to talk to you. I wish I could do it every day, but that wouldn't be fair to all the other people you work with. So,
No.
welcome to Beth Shaha, who
Uh,
is the Grounded Canary and certified master life coach and my personal life coach. So, I consider you one of my spiritual gurus that helps me get through life every day. So,
mm.
I'm very fortunate.
Well, it's good to always spend time with you, and I love sharing things that we've talked about that you're okay with.
Yeah.
I love using that as kind of an impetus, and when we say, "Oh, we got to do a podcast about this," I think it comes very organically for both of us. So I think it's fun when we get to do that.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, we're talking about today what it is to be present, why it's
Mhm.
important, how to do it, why we need it, and all of the above. And that all came from a conversation you and I had recently where I was just like, I don't like all this uncertainty and I want answers and I want things to move forward. And so you just brought me to a space where I could really kind of look at that and honor that and figure out where I am and get more comfortable with it. So tell me, why is it so important for us to be able to like find ourselves in those moments to get present?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are constantly fighting our mind. You know, our ego is so busy, and oftentimes it will only recognize the past or the future. So when we're thinking of things that have happened and we're trying to not let those happen again, or we're thinking about what's going to happen and we don't know enough, we don't know, things that are going to be happening tomorrow, let alone months and months in advance or even years in advance. But we can get so worried about the past or the future that the mind doesn't even let us focus on the current present. It very rarely exists. And yet, what I have found is that when we are uncertain and we have suffering of any kind, the remedy is presence. It is what allows us to find our way out. And I think it's so fascinating because with presence, we can become aware of what we're thinking about. And if we're not careful, we can take on the identity of that thought. And so when we think about our future, we think about our past, our mental projection of what's to come could actually be worse than our present moment. And
Mm.
I've shared this with you before, Sandy, but there was Eckhart Tolle, actually. He is one of the people that I follow quite a bit. He wrote this book, The Power of Now. It is an amazing journey about how to be right now. And it's beautiful. And it talks about liberation and freedom. But one of the examples that he gave one time when I listened in on a workshop was he talked about a person that was losing her job, losing a relationship, losing all things that meant security for her, and that she was going to be homeless. So she was so anxious for days and days and days and months and months and months. And so much time had passed that she was literally suffering every day about the fact. Now, I understand if any of us were going to be homeless, it would be alarming, right? It would be nerve-wracking for us. But what he found when still talking to her through this entire experience is that once she actually got in her car and didn't have a home, the suffering was over. Because in that moment, she was there. She was present. Okay, so what can I do now? I'm here. I'm now free to make action, to take action, to free myself of all that worry, because now I got to do something. But
Right.
for months and months and years, actually, for so much of her life, she had spent so much time projecting. And then of recent, when she was worrying about this, it happened to her right then. And it made her sick. It created all kinds of havoc in her life. And the point is, when she got to that point, she felt freedom for the first time. And so that's just an illustration to show how much we can get caught up in our thought, how much we can let our thought take over to the point where we don't even know what reality is anymore. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it absolutely does, right? When you're not sure what path you're going down or what's going to happen, you automatically go, well, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah.
It could be this, it could be that. And then all of a sudden you're like, everything is horrible in my life.
Right.
And you're like, I mean, you've told me, you're like, is that true? Right.
Yeah,
Sorry, my
exactly.
favorite question. Is that true? And then I'm like,
Exactly.
Well, actually, right now in this moment, no. Right. But I
Right.
was more fearful of it could possibly happen. Well, anything could possibly happen, I
Mhm.
guess. Right. So, but if that's where we spend all of our energy, then how do we know like where to spend our energy if we're trying to think of all possibilities and prepare accordingly? You just really have to look at, well, where am I right now? And
Right,
that's
absolutely.
where,
And a lot of it really is understanding our thoughts. When something comes in and we think something, we think, oh, I'm not going to be good enough for that, or I'm never going to have that kind of peace, or, you know, whatever the thought is, I'll never lose the weight. I'll never repair that relationship. What we do is we take on that identity. We start to believe it.
Mhm.
Instead of what's really true, we take on that identity. So what's interesting about it is that we need to be thoughtful about these thoughts. We need to be able to dial in. I'm having this feeling. Why am I having this feeling? I'm feeling like I'm emotionally spiraling. What's that about? So once we start to identify when we're in duress or we're suffering, what's the thought behind it? Why am I feeling this way? We have to ask our questions to get to the thought. My thought is, I will never be good enough. That's a universal thought a lot of us have. But if we say, gosh, is it true? Like you just said, we have a choice to question it or believe it. When we believe it, we're in eternal suffering. It will never go away. When we question it, we say, is it true? And that's Byron Katie's work. Byron Katie, someone I use all the time. So she's famous for a particular practice, a tool called the work. And the very first question in that tool is it true? So I will never be good enough. Is it true? Yeah, that's how I feel. Can I absolutely know that that's true? Well, no, I can't absolutely know it. But how does it make me feel when I think it? Well, it makes me feel miserable. It makes me feel unequipped. It makes me feel hopeless. It makes me, right, all these things that we can feel. And we say, okay, well, what if you woke up one day and never had the thought, I'm not good enough? Okay, well, I might apply for that job. Oh, I might actually ask somebody to be in a relationship. I might, whatever those things are, we all of a sudden give ourselves freedom when we ask that simple question, is it true? And I'll ask myself that question several times a day. Sometimes I'll laugh out loud at the answer because I'm like, no, it's not. You're ridiculous. Or if I'm talking with a friend and they'll say something, and I've done this with you, Sandy, as you said, is it true? Is it true? And then it just takes you a second, right? But we have so many thoughts all day long. We have to identify them, ask them,
Mhm.
question them, and really understand if that's a belief that is true or not. Because the majority of the ones that give us suffering and give us emotional duress and uncertainty are the ones that are not actually true. We're just projecting all of this stuff out there and we're starting to believe that script.
That's right. I even have like just a little like simple example, but when I first started meeting with you, I would say, I don't meditate. I can't meditate. It stressed me out. I'm not good at meditating. And you're like, is that true? And I'm like, well, yeah, it is. But but what you helped me to actually do, it wasn't that I wasn't good at meditating. It was, I hadn't found how to make meditation work for me and what form of meditation, because then you helped me to see that there's like, oh, well, it doesn't have to look like this, or it doesn't have to look like that. It can look like this. And
Mhm.
you would show me, and I'd be like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can do that. And now it's like, I rarely miss a day without meditating. And I
Mhm.
spend a lot more time meditating than I ever dreamed I would. And I love it. I need it. Right. And it's so funny though, but it is as simple as that. Like, is it true? Asking that question and just taking yourself into the moment. That's, you can't be any more present than right then. Right.
Right.
Like by asking the
Absolutely.
question.
Absolutely. And so, how are ways that you can get in the present? Sometimes it's difficult to do that. First of all, it's about noticing when your body's telling you something, when you're feeling stress, you're feeling something in your gut, you're feeling a bit of a headache. What's it from? What's going on? There's some thought there, kind of drilling down. Another way is to take a walk, just get out in nature and see what you see, hear what you hear, smell what you smell, feel
Yeah.
what you feel, right? Get into that because all of a sudden it takes you right here. Sometimes I'll recommend, and I've even said this before, I think on here, is setting alarms on your phone. Checking in with yourself.
Yep.
How you feeling right now? What's going on? When we practice, whether it's meditation, a nature walk, having an alarm go off, when we practice getting in the present, we're able to drop into it quicker. So when we are suffering or when we're dealing with something that is, spiral emotion, we're able to say, wait. I'm going to separate myself enough from it. I'm going to drop in, and right here and now, I'm going to claim it, and I'm going to understand what's behind it. I'm going to ask myself enough questions so that I can get to the thought, and then I'm going to question that thought and understand its power.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say that, to me, that like you put yourself in the power seat, right? Because you're allowing yourself to be in control, and you put yourself in the power seat. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That's exactly what I was thinking.
And it's interesting because otherwise that's flipped. The thought has power over us. And that's what I love acceptance commitment therapy, right? ACT talks about distancing yourself. And it's, you say, I don't think she likes me. Okay, great. Say that 3 times. I don't think she likes me. I don't think she likes me. I don't think she likes me. Oh, we're still mad. We're still worried. We're still anxious. Yeah. Let's add this in front. I'm having the thought that I don't think she likes me. I'm having the thought that I don't think she likes me. I'm having the thought, oh, wait, okay. Then let's add in one more. I notice I'm having the thought that she doesn't like me. I notice I'm having the thought that I don't think she likes me. Oh, interesting, right? Try that. For those of you that are listening, when you have a thought, another way to do that is to put those little things in front of it. Say it 3 times, then say it 3 times with, I'm having the thought, and then put, I notice I'm having the thought, and say it, and watch how it loses its power. Because all of a sudden you pick it up and it is an object that you can look at and you can say, is it true? Is it actually true? How do I know that? I don't know that. Maybe I should go ask her. That's the quickest way to know. Right. Yeah. But instead of having it all in here, you bring it out and you look at it and ask yourself, where's the truth in this?
Yeah. Wow.
Presence transforms this aliveness in us and less suffering. And so it's a tool that's easy. It's usable. It's something you have in your back pocket every single day.
And what's interesting too, is we were talking about, it's that uncertainty that causes the suffering, and you go down this path that kind of drives us there. But there is absolutely no uncertainty in the present moment.
Right.
There's none.
True. Very
There's
true.
None.
Yeah, because right now you can say, am I okay? And oftentimes when I'm talking to clients, we'll talk a lot about emotions and story and beliefs. But right now, right here, when we do, sometimes I'll do guided meditation, sometimes I'll do deep breaths, right? Are you okay right now? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am. And sometimes people get mad about that because they're like, yeah, but okay. And we could go there, but there's where the suffering is. Why chase the suffering? If you can be right here, right now, that's a gift. And Byron Katie says, when you realize that every stressful moment you experience is a gift that points you back to your own freedom, life becomes very kind. And I love that.
Yeah, that is powerful.
Because all of a sudden, life is kind in this present moment. And you'll get to that. You'll deal with that. Just like that person that was homeless in a car. Once I'm there, I'm fine. I'll go find a couch. I have family. I'll figure it out. But boy, can we not live in suffering for so long because we're not willing to just live right here, right now.
That's right. That's right. It's so true. I just reflected on so many conversations I've had with you about this. And I even had my own moment where I was like, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? I'm like, I could be homeless. And you're like, well, is that true? And I was like, well, not really, because, and I thought of all the reasons why I wouldn't be homeless. Right.
Right. And this is not something to be shamed about. It's not something to be embarrassed about. All of us do it every single day. We're thinking these thoughts every single day. Things come in and out. We can question them and we can believe them. Now, are there thoughts that are true? There are. And typically those are ones that we can't really do the work around, and we can't, because there are things that are true. And we deal with those. We are aware, and we can move through that. Mm-hmm. Because we know, but the things that are not true, we also become aware. And it's that general awareness of our thoughts are only thoughts. They come, they go. We can choose to believe or we can choose to question. And at the end of the day, there is freedom and life in this present space of just dropping in and giving yourself that time.
Yeah. And it's that choice that flips the power, right? That flips the power back to your side, is when you make that choice to be aware and ask the question, is it true? Then it flips, right? And now you're in the power seat again. And then you feel more in control, because that's what we all want in that moment, right? Because that's what's so hard. And that's what creates the suffering, is we feel like we might not have control of that situation. So I think
Yeah.
that's great. Beth, remind us again of the 2 resources that you mentioned.
Yeah, sure. So the first one, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. A beautiful book, an awesome read. Talks about being awake, being alive, being enlightened. I love it. And the other one is Loving What Is. This is Byron Katie, and she talks you. This is actually she talks you through this process that she came up with on her own, called The Work. And it is 4 questions, and it is easy. It is beautiful. It is tried and true. And I use it every day.
I love it. I love it. And you use it on me every day. No, you've been such a great resource for tools like that. And I so appreciate that, because you've really helped me to calm the uncertainty, right? And really ask the question. And yeah, it's like you said, you give kind of like, you get your life back when you can get to a space to do more of that. So thank you for sharing that with us today.
Good
That
thing.
was really amazing. And more to come on with things like this, and tips and trades from Beth Shaha, the Grounded Canary.
Thanks, Annie. Great spending time with you as always.
Thanks, Beth.